Happy Thursday, everyone. Happy Erev Shabbos. These Parshas, last week already told us, in Vayeitzei, continuing on here, there's so much in these Parshas which is very, very hard to understand, and the modern world we grapple with these things. I think it's important just to preface. I think anytime discussing our Avos Imahos, I feel it's very important to set out. There are a lot of people who learn these stories and say, oh, the Avos Imahos, they're people just like ours. Stop saying they were angels. They're not angels. They're human beings just like us, and they had similar problems, family problems, squabbles, and jealousies. And so the answer is, part of that is true, a very small part. The fact that they're human, of course, they weren't angels, but we have to realize these were Avos Imahos. These are people, first of all, they may not have been angels, but these are people who talked to angels, and who had visions, dreams, and had nevuah, prophecy from Hashem. And most importantly, the decisions, including the family decisions, and the husband and wife decisions, and the child raising decisions that they were making were not the same way you and I make these kind of decisions. Because the consequences, these were the people building the foundation of the nation. They're setting the groundwork. When they're making these decisions, they're deciding things that are going to affect Klal Yisrael, the entirety of Klal Yisrael, because we all come from them. So the stakes are so much higher, and therefore things that we say, oh, this seems like a little kind of a petty thing. It wasn't petty at all. It's huge. And that's why we need the words of our Chacham, our Chazal, Gemaras, the Midrashim, the Rishonim, and Achronim. It's very important to have a proper Torah Hashkaf and understanding all of these things, as difficult as they are. I want to explore such a situation today, and just to start with an idea, which is, we know one of the fundamentals, actually the fundamental in Judaism. The fundamental is emunah bitachon, knowledge of Hashem, trust in Hashem, belief in Hashem. To be a kofar, to deny divine providence, is like the worst thing a person can do. Is there ever a time that's appropriate to be a kofar? Ever? Ever a situation that one should be in denial of Hashem? Ever? Could there ever be such a thing? I'm sorry? Person's asking me for tzedakah. I'm a Baal B'tachon. Hashem runs the world. He feeds the poor. Isn't it a terrible avla, a crime for me to give the person tzedakah? Whereas my trust Hashem is going to take care of things. And by the way, there was a group of people that had that philosophy, so to speak. There are those who say that was the philosophy of the Anshe Sodom.
When you go to a doctor?
When you go to a doctor, how do a doctor's allowed to hear you? So the truth is, if not for the fact that the Torah says, Verapo Yerape, the doctor, and the Gemara says that we know a doctor has permission to treat. It's not a lack of confidence in Hashem that the doctor treats us. And it's proper hishtadlus, proper. By the way, there were religious groups that felt differently. I think there are still some today, the Christian Scientists, I think, or certain ones, they felt, no, you can't go to a doctor because it shows a lack of faith in God. Okay, that's not our philosophy. So, not that, of course, again, Rosh wasn't preaching kfira, but he's saying, you have such bitachon and confidence in Hashem, but you know what? When there's a time that somebody needs help and somebody needs assistance, that's not the time to say, oh, Hashem will provide, Hashem will take care of. No, I have to go and do. I have to go and act. Whether it's tzedakah, whether it's healing, whether it's helping someone in need, and if there's nothing that I can do about it, at the very least, I can daven. And if my davening isn't answered, I can daven harder. Important idea. So, with that in mind, coming on to this week's parsha, and a very powerful dialogue between Rachel and Yaakov. Leah, of course, there's so much to talk about every one of these aspects, but Leah's already had 4 children, and Rachel sees she's having no children. Leah has children. And the pasuk says, "Vater Rachel ki lo yodel Yaakov." She saw she did not give birth to any children for Yaakov. But kanei Rachel b'chosa. She was jealous. But tell Yaakov, "Hava livani." She says to Yaakov, "Give me children." V'im ayin, if not meson, I'm a dead woman. I'm nothing. I have no life. So Rashi points out this is one of the rare cases that jealousy can be a good thing. This wasn't jealousy just because Leah has children she doesn't, but she's jealous because obviously Leah must be a bigger tzedekah. She must be more righteous and deserve it while I don't. So this is what we call kina sofrim, a good kind of kina. I want to improve myself. But she also goes to her husband and says very striking words. She says, "Give me children, and if not, I'm dead." Yaakov gets angry. Vayomer, he says, Hasachas Elokim Anochi. Am I in place of God? Am I in place of Hashem? Asher Manam Yimei Prilatem, who withheld children from you? Am I God? Is it up to me? Now again, an immature reading of Torah says, Rachel cries, oh my gosh, I have no children. Give me children, give me children. And Yaakov says, do I look like God? And that's the end of it. But that's not Yaakov, that's not Rachel. What's going on here? So what is going on here? What is Rachel saying to Yaakov, give me children? And what is Yaakov's response? No? What is she saying, give me children? Is it up to Yaakov?
She's asking for Yaakov to pray that she...
David! Did Yaakov not daven? Yaakov didn't daven for his wife. He davened for Leah. He davened for Rachel? Surely he davened for her. So what's she saying?
Concentrate.
Daven harder! Daven harder!
Concentrate on Rachel. That's more.
Concentrate more. Maybe give me a little extra power, a little extra nudge in your tefillas, right? Right? And of course Rachel has background here. She says, didn't your grandfather daven for your grandmother? Didn't your father? And the Torah tells us that Yitzchak and Rivka davened opposite each other for years and years and years for children. So the simple understanding, the Mefarshim seem to say this, is she's asking, daven hard, daven strong, but you can do it. You can do it. And his answer is, what, do I look like Chassid Jareh? You think I just say God and that's it? You think I'm not davening? You think it's really up to me? And there's a lot of discussion in the Farshim, the commentaries. There's more to it. In other words, maybe there were reasons why Hashbonos and calculations, like maybe his davening, can only do so much because in this particular case, it's dependent more on her davening, it's dependent more on her deeds, etc. Whatever it was, it seems the discussion is about Rachel saying, you gotta pull all this stuff. I've got nothing to live for. If I don't have any children, I'm not gonna be one of the matriarchs. Oh my gosh, what is my life worth? And Yaakov gets angry. Yaakov is angry and rebukes her and says, it's not me. It's not up to me. It's up to Hashem. You're talking to the wrong person or the wrong one. Hasachas Elokim Anochi. Am I in place of Hashem? Chazal say that Yaakov was criticized for how he acted with Rachel. And the Ramban quotes the Medrash. The Medrash says, this is how, Yaakov, this is how you speak. This woman is suffering. It's terrible. It's a very difficult thing. She's suffering. She's an akara. She's children. She's desperate here. And she comes to you. This is how you answer her. What's striking is what Hashem says is going to be the consequence. He says, Chayecha, by your life, shebanecha asidin lamod lifnei b'nav. The Ramban quotes the Medrash here. By your life, the children, you already have children. You have 4 children, right? Those children and others as well are going to one day stand before the son who she's going to have, who's going to be Lord over your other children. And that, of course, refers to Yosef and his brothers. What exactly was wrong with what Yaakov responded? The simple understanding is that he should not have gotten angry. He should not have gotten angry. He should have been more patient with her. That he did not respond appropriately with her. The wording, Hasachas Elokim Anochi, in my place of Hashem, maybe he was davening as hard as he could, but there was something in his response that was lacking and was not appropriate. And because of that, there's this interesting consequence, the Medrash says. The consequence is one day, there's going to be a consequence, there's going to be fallout from this, that the child is going to have. Of course, it'll be Yaakov's child also, which is an interesting point, but is going to be standing with authority, in a position of power, with your other children who are going to be very subservient and trembling and quaking before him. What's incredibly striking about this is the words that the Torah speaks of, and the Medrash quotes this also as well, when the brothers are standing before Yosef. Now, when they're standing before Yosef, before they know who he is, there's the whole back and forth and the whole dialogue and all that, but it comes out that after Yosef reveals who he is, and after they're reunited, and after Yaakov joins the family, and everything's wonderful, and Yaakov blesses his children before he passes away, and then Yaakov dies. And then what happens after Yaakov dies? What do the brothers think? Now he's going to get us. Now he's going to get us. He was so nice and wonderful while our father was alive, but now he's going to take revenge. He's going to take vengeance for the terrible thing we did, selling him. And they come with a whole stratagem. And one of the cases where they say, our father didn't want you to do anything to us, and they're begging, hoping, pleading, and it's incredible. The end of Parshas Vayeitzei, they fall down, they beg before him and say, we're slaves to you, we're servants to you. This is like the vision that the Medrash was talking about, was going to happen someday from that discussion with Yaakov and Rachel. And what does Yosef say? We him Yosef, al tiro, don't be afraid. Ki hasachas Elokim ani. Hasachas Elokim ani. It's like the exact same words, just the Anoch and the Ani is different. The exact same words that Yaakov said to Rachel, Tachas Elokim anochi, and Yosef says to his brothers, am I in place of God? Meaning, you're worried I'm going to take revenge on you and retribution, I'm going to punish you for what you did? Hashem dispenses justice. I would never, chas v'shalom, go ahead and try to play God and punish you. And don't ask that, wasn't Yosef playing God all along with the whole machinations where he didn't reveal who he was, and he made himself like a stranger, and he accused them of being spies. But that was all, as we see in the story, that was all eventually for their benefit. That was all for their own good, to reunite the family. They could prove themselves loyal and sacrifice themselves for Binyamin and rectify the family. And once that was done, everything is brotherly love. I'm not going to punish you. I'm not going to punish you for what you did. I'm not God. So, just want to suggest, al derech drush, again, I hope I'm not going too far with this, that when Hashem punishes tzaddikim, punishment is not a pacha slap in the face. I'm upset with you, so I give you pain. When Hashem gives punishment, onesh, punishment is a rectification. Punishment is a suffering, something necessary to go ahead and fix. Like medicine that hurts, like a surgery that's painful, to fix a problem. The consequence that Medrash speaks about, that Hashem says, this is what's going to happen one day when your other children are going to be before the child she's going to have. The wording, I think, is very striking. It can't be an accident. The same words that Yaakov says, Hasachas Elokim Anochi, and Yosef says, Hasachas Elokim Ani. Just to suggest, al derech drush again. Yaakov, when he says, Hasachas Elokim Anochi, am I in place of God? Maybe that wasn't the time to say it. Because no, Yaakov is not God. He's not. But maybe this is not the time to go ahead and say, Hashem runs the world, what are you looking at me? Maybe it was a time that Yaakov needed to daven harder and harder and harder, and not again to be chas v'shalom and not be chorus, but a little bit to say, you know what? She's desperate, she wants children so much. Avraham, the way he davened for the people of Sodom, and the way he poured out his heart, and the way he, whatever kind of machinations, and we know there were times in Chazal, in history, like Hannah, much later in Jewish history, Hannah davened for Hashem in a way unbelievable. She said things that would have been considered chutzpahdik in asking for a child, the Gemara says. And maybe it was a time for Yaakov to do that, and not say, Hasachas Elokim Anochi. Not that Yaakov needs to play God, but maybe this is a time to say, I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up! And not just like Hashem's going to run it. Maybe. And so therefore, the antidote is many years later, generations later, Yosef says, Hasachas Elokim Ani, the correct way. The time to say, am I in place of God, is when I have a personal yias. I have something upsetting me. Someone did something wrong to me and I want to take revenge. I want something in this world, right? And I'm not getting it. And I got to work harder and harder, and I got to take all the stops to go and get it. And maybe stepping on other people, and maybe doing something that's not appropriate. No. That's the time to say, Hashem runs the world. That's the time to go ahead and not be 1 ounce of a heretic or a kofar. That's the time to say, Hashem runs the world. When Yosef has his brothers, oh my gosh, what are you going to do? And Yosef is like, me take revenge? Punish you for what you did to me? That's the time to say, I'm not Hashem. I don't do those things. And perhaps this is a lesson and an insight and something that relevant for us today. The concept of that trust in Hashem, that confidence that Hashem runs the world and takes care of everything, and we don't need to do anything. There's a time to say that and a time not to say that. The time to go ahead and say that is when Like I said, I'm upset. Someone has something that I want. Someone did something to me, and I want to get them back. I want to go ahead and defend my honor. I want to go ahead and take action. But it's a case where it's selfish, it's negias, it's personally, it's something I want to get out of it. That's the time to say, Asachas lo kimani, like Yosef, that's the time to say, who am I to go ahead and play God and think I can run the world? I will trust that Hashem will take care of things. I don't need to worry about it. And the time to not say it is the time when we're called upon to act, to do. Maybe to daven really, really, really hard, to do a stronger hishtadlus that we've been doing, to go ahead and help someone else, and help a situation, and do something l'shem shamayim. And that is the place, not to say, who am I to play God? That's the time to say, Hashem, not going to stop davening, I'm not going to give up, I'm not going to stop my efforts until I've done everything possible within my power to do the right thing and make a change and make a difference.